Most guys try too hard to impress women and fail. The men who drive women crazy do the opposite of what you'd expect, often without even realizing it. After years of research, I've uncovered 5 surprising behaviors that trigger deep attraction, not tricks, but real psychology. Some will shock you. Smash that subscribe button. What you're about to learn may change your dating life forever. 1. The controlled pause. Here's something most men completely miss. When a woman is talking, especially about something emotional or important to her, the guys who drive women wild don't immediately jump in with solutions or responses. Instead, they pause. They let the moment breathe. They give her words space to land. This isn't about being slow or unresponsive. This is about emotional intelligence in action. When a woman finishes speaking, especially about something vulnerable, there's this microsecond where she's watching your face, reading your energy, wondering if you truly heard her or if you're already formulating your response. The men who understand this, they pause for just a beat longer than feels natural. Maybe 2 seconds, maybe 3. They maintain eye contact, they process what she said, and then they respond from a place of genuine consideration rather than reactive impulse. I watched this happen with a friend of mine at a coffee shop. His girlfriend was telling him about a conflict with her sister, something that was clearly weighing on her. Instead of immediately offering advice or trying to fix it, he just paused. He nodded slowly, looked at her with complete attention, and then said, "That sounds really hard. Tell me more about how that made you feel." She melted, literally melted. Her whole body language changed. She leaned in closer, and you could see this wave of connection wash over her face. Later, she told me it was one of the most attractive things he'd ever done because it made her feel truly seen and heard. This works because it taps into something called the validation response. Women are wired to seek emotional connection and understanding. When you pause before responding, you're showing her that her words have weight, that they deserve consideration, that she matters enough for you to actually think before you speak. It's the opposite of the typical male response of jumping straight into problem-solving mode. Here's how to do this. When she finishes speaking, count to 3 in your head. Maintain eye contact. Let her words settle. Then respond from a place of genuine curiosity or understanding rather than immediate advice giving. Ask follow-up questions. Reflect back what you heard. Show her that you're not just waiting for your turn to talk. 2. The confidence display. This one's subtle but incredibly powerful. Women are secretly driven wild by men who demonstrate quiet confidence in everyday situations. Not showing off, not bragging, but simply handling things with skill and confidence when it actually matters. I'm talking about the guy who can parallel park in one smooth motion without making a big deal about it. The man who knows how to handle a difficult situation at a restaurant without being rude to the staff. The guy who can fix something that's broken without getting frustrated or making excuses. One of my female friends told me about a date where the guy's car broke down. Instead of panicking, getting angry, or making it her problem, he calmly assessed the situation, called the right people, and turned it into an adventure. He didn't apologize profusely or get embarrassed. He just handled it like a man who's comfortable with problems and knows how to solve them. She said watching him manage that situation was more attractive than any expensive dinner or flashy gesture could have been. It showed her something about his character that she couldn't have learned any other way. This taps into what psychologists call the provider instinct. Women are subconsciously attracted to men who can navigate challenges and create security. But here's the key. It's not about being the richest or strongest guy. It's about being the most competent, the most reliable, the one who can keep his cool when things go sideways. The men who understand this don't seek opportunities to show off. They simply develop genuine skills and handle situations with grace when they arise. They learn how to cook a few dishes really well. They know how to change a tire. They can navigate without GPS if they need to. They can handle social situations without making things awkward. Here's how to develop this. Focus on building real confidence in areas that matter. Learn practical skills. Practice staying calm under pressure. When problems arise, see them as opportunities to demonstrate your ability to handle life's challenges. Don't announce what you're doing. Just do it smoothly and let your actions speak. 3. The selective attention this is where most guys get it completely wrong. They think that giving a woman constant attention, being available 24/7, and responding to every text immediately is what she wants. But the men who drive women wild understand something different: the power of selective attention. These guys are present and engaged when they're with you, but they're not constantly available. They have their own lives, their own interests, their own schedules. When they give you their attention, it feels valuable because it's not unlimited. I know a guy who's incredibly attractive to women, and I used to think it was just his looks. But then I started paying attention to how he interacts with them. When he's talking to a woman, she has his complete focus. No phone checking, no looking around the room, no divided attention. She feels like the only person in the world. But here's the twist: he's not always available. He doesn't text back immediately. He's not constantly trying to make plans. He has boundaries around his time and energy. When women get his attention, they know they've earned it. This creates something called the scarcity effect. When something is rare or limited, we value it more. When your attention is selective rather than constant, it becomes more precious. Women start to wonder what you're doing when you're not with them. They start to appreciate the time they do have with you more deeply. One woman told me about a guy she was dating who would put his phone away completely when they were together. "I knew that for those few hours. I had him completely," she said. "It made me feel special in a way that constant texting never could." But here's the crucial part. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about having a genuine life that you're excited about, interests that fulfill you, and boundaries that you respect. When you're genuinely engaged with your own life, your attention naturally becomes more selective and therefore more valuable. Here's how to apply this. Build a life you're genuinely excited about. Pursue interests that challenge and fulfill you. When you're with someone, be completely present. When you're not, be completely engaged with your own life. Don't be constantly available, but when you are available, be fully there. 4. The emotional steadiness. Here's something that women find absolutely magnetic, but rarely talk about: emotional steadiness. Not emotional unavailability, not coldness, but the ability to remain calm and centered when emotions are running high. I watched this play out with a couple I know. They were at a party, and something happened that made her really upset. She started getting emotional, her voice raised, and everyone around them got uncomfortable. But her boyfriend? He didn't match her energy. He didn't get defensive or try to shut her down. He just remained calm, present, and steady. He didn't dismiss her emotions or tell her to calm down. Instead, he became like a rock in a storm. He listened, he validated, but he didn't get swept up in the emotional chaos. His steadiness actually helped her find her own center again. Later, she told me that his ability to stay grounded when she was feeling scattered made her feel incredibly safe with him. It showed her that no matter what happened, he could handle it without falling apart. This triggers something called the security response. Women are attracted to men who can be their anchor when life gets turbulent. Not someone who suppresses emotions or doesn't care, but someone who can feel deeply while still maintaining their center. The key is that this steadiness comes from genuine emotional maturity, not from being shut down or disconnected. These men feel their emotions fully, but they don't let those emotions control their actions or reactions. They've learned to observe their feelings without being overwhelmed by them. I know another guy who's master of this. When his girlfriend gets stressed about work or family drama, he doesn't try to fix everything or get frustrated with her emotions. He just becomes more present, more grounded, more steady. He'll say things like, "I can see this is really affecting you. What do you need right now?" And then he'll just be there, solid and unwavering, while she works through whatever she's feeling. Women have told me that this quality is incredibly rare and incredibly attractive. Most men either try to fix everything immediately or get overwhelmed by emotional intensity. The men who can remain steady while still being emotionally available, they're magnetic. Here's how to develop this. Practice observing your emotions without immediately reacting to them. Learn to breathe deeply and stay present when things get intense. Don't try to fix every emotional situation, but don't withdraw either. Be the calm, steady presence that others can lean on without losing yourself in the process. Feek. The authentic vulnerability. This one might surprise you because it goes against everything we're taught about traditional masculinity. The men who drive women absolutely wild aren't the ones who never show weakness or always have everything figured out. They're the ones who can be authentically vulnerable at the right moments. I'm not talking about being needy or dumping all your problems on someone. I'm talking about the ability to be genuinely human, to share something real about yourself, to let someone see behind the mask that we all wear. I watched this happen with a friend of mine who's incredible with women. He was on a third date, and instead of trying to impress her with more accomplishments or cool stories, he told her about a time he failed at something that really mattered to him. He didn't make it dramatic or seek sympathy. He just shared it as a real part of his experience, what he learned from it, and how it changed him. She was completely captivated. She later told me that in that moment, she felt like she was seeing the real him for the first time, and it made her want to know him even more deeply. This works because it triggers something called the intimacy response. True intimacy isn't created through perfection or constant strength. It's created through authentic human connection, through seeing and being seen. When a man can be vulnerable without being weak, when he can share something real without seeking validation, it creates a level of connection that's incredibly attractive. The key is that this vulnerability comes from a place of strength, not weakness. These men aren't sharing because they need something from you. They're sharing because they're comfortable with who they are, including their imperfections and struggles. One woman told me about a guy who told her about his relationship with his father, something that wasn't easy for him to talk about. He wasn't asking me to fix anything or feel sorry for him, she said. He was just letting me see this part of him that he doesn't show everyone. It made me feel chosen, like he trusted me with something precious. But here's what's crucial. This isn't about trauma dumping or being an emotional burden. It's about strategic vulnerability, sharing something real and meaningful at the right time, in the right way, from a place of emotional strength rather than need. Here's how to practice this. Get comfortable with your own story, including the parts that weren't perfect. Practice sharing pieces of your authentic experience without seeking validation or sympathy. Choose moments when it feels natural and appropriate to let someone see the real you. Remember that vulnerability is about courage, not weakness. Here's what's really interesting about all of these behaviors. They're not techniques or tricks. They're expressions of genuine emotional maturity and self-awareness. The men who drive women wild aren't following a playbook. They're just being the best versions of themselves. And here's the twist that might surprise you. These behaviors aren't just attractive to women. They make you more attractive to everyone. They make you a better friend, a better colleague, a better human being. When you can pause and truly listen, when you can handle challenges with grace, when you can be selectively present, emotionally steady, and authentically vulnerable, you become the kind of person that others want to be around. The reality is that what drives women wild isn't about being someone you're not. It's about becoming someone you're proud to be. It's about developing the kind of emotional intelligence and self-awareness that makes you genuinely attractive from the inside out. So here's your challenge. Pick one of these 5 behaviors and start practicing it this week. Not as a technique to get something, but as a way to become more of who you really are. Because the men who drive women wild aren't the ones who are trying the hardest to impress. They're the ones who are most comfortable being genuinely themselves. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more such videos. Thanks for watching.